Dr. Bart Rademacher, and this is Prescription for Your Transformation. Real people, real conversations, and real success. And absolutely tapping into that authentic genius in the form of our brain intelligence, our body intelligence, as well as our energy intelligence. Understanding that, this living in this universe, nothing happens by random. We just have to understand the actual intelligence that will help us reveal what it is that needs to be revealed to us so that actually we can live the life that we desire. And think about it for a moment, right? What is that life that we desire? Well, it's all the successes and the fulfillment and the enjoyment. But guess what? The lack of pain is part of that too, and something that we don't exactly acknowledge for ourselves. And for a reason, because we're taught that pain is inevitable, which actually it is, but it's not a pain that has to stay with us forever. And we can heal that pain. And so, my exciting journey, has brought me to many, many different countries as a medical professional, trained for 17 years and in practice for a really long time. I've really come to appreciate the other side of healing outside of just pure medicine. Because quite frankly, as a doctor, I find that perhaps the power is so much more there and within than what we do as doctors. And I'm not saying anything that is foreign to many people, but it's something that many people are unwilling to admit. And so for today, talking to Shara Ogin, looking at her new book, we're going to talk a little bit about that at the end of this, but she has done an incredible job to help us tap into our intelligence of our body to heal ourselves from within. So Shara, thank you so much. I'm really excited to be talking to you today, as you can tell, right?
Yes.
Because you speak my lingo. And so let's talk about something that I talk a lot about in regenerative medicine, but that's the root cause. And so tell me your perspective, your experience. You've got tons of experience as an occupational therapist, as a life coach, and then I'm going to try to say this correctly, but it's a Feldenkrais practitioner, as well as a reverend. I mean, such an extensive background gives you you've earned the right to speak at depth about this.
Thank you, Bart. Yeah, well, I'll just start by saying one of my main inspirations around writing this book was I was working with people. I've been working with people with pain for 25 years as an occupational therapist. However, when I switched to coaching, I would do sessions on people and do sessions where I help them to change their beliefs. I help them to switch their inner ecology, help them to heal ancestral patterns, and their pain would go away. Literally now I'm doing most all of my sessions on Zoom. They used to be in person. The results are the same. Like for instance, I have one client I've been working with and she has Lyme's disease. She's had it for 20 years and on and off pretty consistent pain in her leg. And every day, every time after I do a session, I say, well, how's your pain now? And it's almost like, what pain, And maybe it's a 1 or a 2 on the scale from 0 to 10, but pretty much after I do my sessions, and I do a whole variety of sessions. So some of my work is clairvoyant readings. So energy clearing, where they just receive the healing energy. And I've rarely worked with a client whose pain hasn't gone away after one of my sessions. And so then I started to look deeper. Well, wait a second. What is really at the root of all of these pain things, like whether it's Lyme disease or chronic fatigue? And there was consistent patterns I started to find that were at the root of all of them. So, and also I have what's called clairaudience, where I hear voices. We all have it. We're just less attuned. Some of us are more attuned to it. We hear the voice of our mother. We hear the voice of, So anyways, when I'm doing sessions, I hear these voices and the voice will say something like, I don't love myself, or get out of here, and like, it's really funny. I was a hand therapist, so I worked with people with arm injuries. So I worked with lots of tennis elbow, for instance, and you put the tennis elbow band on 2 inches below the external wad here. And then I started to work with people, and usually, of course, people wouldn't come to me for because of a tennis elbow. They would come to me because of life purpose and love and all those things. And then I always ask, do you have any physical ailments? And what I started to find with tennis elbow, it was this energy of getting away from me, get away from me. So after doing about 4 readings, it was still this like pushing away energy. And we could just use the example of tennis elbow because I'm talking about it. Those are not very dramatic people. So if you just say like, what are you pushing away? That person will have to go really, really deep into figuring out what it is they're pushing away. Maybe it's a pattern they had with their mother when they were younger, or maybe they just hate their job, yet there's this resonant field, energetic field around them. They may be in relationship. They're not like people who are necessarily out of relationship, yet there's something that they're pushing away.
It's wonderful that someone like yourself is really talking about this, because it's the magic of unlocking the wisdom from within. I mean, as the title of your book, unlocking the body's wisdom, accessing your healing power from within, because truly that's where the answers lie. I think from the perspective of how we're born into this world, and let's just take the premise of it's a perfect body, okay? And as long as the pregnancies were fine and everything else, I mean, you're born perfect. And what then happens is that you're exposed to the world around yourself. And it's that exposure that then affects the genetic, expression within, that then delivers all the problems that we have in life, So, if we had the perfect sort of input, from the world around us, I mean, perhaps our bodies would remain perfect forever. And so what's interesting, what you're talking about, and stuff that's very seldom addressed, is there is a root cause of pain. And, that comes, as you pointed out, it's our emotions, and medical conditions are based in emotion, and also it's psychosomatic, as much as people don't want to admit that. And so by doing the kind of work that you get to do, and bringing into awareness, at least addressing it in the unconscious mind, even perhaps, that you help people lose, whatever is causing them the pain. Would that be right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I help them to break through whatever it is that's causing that. But, one of the other main points of my book is that there's a reason for pain. Okay. It didn't just happen by accident. There's some reason that our souls are put onto this planet to learn particular lessons. So maybe we came in with a throat, what developed into a throat cancer, or strep, or frequent throat tightness, that would be something around expression. So this is a good example of someone who's on the life path to actually learn how to fully become expressed.
Right.
And actually, this is probably similar to my story. I'm sure, looking back, my throat was, I mean, it never had a diagnosis of ailment, but definitely my throat was small, and I definitely walked around with tightness in my throat and the shame posture,
Right.
And so then when you get to the other side of it, then boom, then your posture changes. And as your posture changes, so does your trajectory, basically, what you're here to do.
Yeah, and that's another part that oftentimes confuses people, because we mean, my ancestors are affecting me. Well, yeah, they are. And to understand that, I mean, when you think about it, I mean, we're energy beings. And that energy comes from somewhere. It's not just something that magically shows up and now you're a physical being. And so that's what what is important. And so tell us some more about your approach in addressing that root cause. I mean, some of perhaps your experiences with that, some of the great breakthroughs, because again, I think for so many people, they just rely so much on what the media tells them, what their doctors tell them, and you got to do this, and all the marketing, titans in the pharmaceutical industry are telling you, look, get used to the fact that you're going to have gastritis, so you might as well, take an antacid. Well, you have a different solution.
Yeah. And at the same time, I'm definitely refraining from saying avoid going to the medical, because I come from a family of physicians, and
Right.
coming from a medical establishment myself, there's lots of validity there. So it's not one or the other. It's a more proponent for doing both. And so I have a multifaceted approach to when people come to me, especially being a Feldenkrais practitioner. But during the time of coronavirus, I'm no longer doing that. But I have lots of actually free videos on YouTube, both for Feldenkrais and energy healing. So two different categories, but the Feldenkrais you could actually do on your own. And that's why I created these videos, to help people to get out of pain and feel more aligned and balanced in their body. So you could address it from the physical, or you could address it from the psychosocial. So I work as an intuitive coach. What does that mean? Well, I don't have a cookie cutter way that I work. I work with each person's needs individually. I do a combination of psychic readings and a combination of general coaching. With everyone I work with, I want to find the root belief. What's blocking them? I ask myself, what is blocking this person from living the life that they want? Now, in the past, for a good part of my career, I worked solely with people with physical pain. That's no longer the case. Now my clientele is more women in their 30s to 50s who are on the path and wanting to excel in their spiritual or find love and really step into their purpose and live it fully. Okay.
Right.
Now, along with that often becomes physical ailments. So it kind of goes one and the same. And in my book, even though it talks a lot about physical ailments, it's not just for people with physical ailments. It's for people like you and me who actually we just want to go on that spiritual track one step further and learn a new perspective on what's going to help us to live our most aligned and balanced and purposeful life.
So with that,
yeah,
the idea of understanding how emotion affects us. And so the way that I will interpret it, and for other people that might be new to this kind of concept, essentially what happens is that, all of our memories are stored within us,
yes,
as well as our emotions.
yes,
And what happens then is that, let's say, any kind of traumatic experience, and guess what? We all have them,
yes,
most of which we've probably forgotten, or we
yes,
bury deep in our unconscious.
yes,
And then what happens is that that's tied up with that emotion, and then in one form or another, if that emotion, chooses to bubble up, if you will, we want to repress it because, in our opinion, it's perhaps socially unacceptable. But the problem is that there's energy with that.
yes.
And so that energy has to go somewhere. And then it goes to physical ailment.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's a section of my book where I talk about parts, and I talk about after trauma, what happens is, and this is for everybody, certain parts of us segment. There's a part that runs and hides and is scared and shy, and maybe it's around social anxiety when you go to school, and then there's that part that contracts, and this is where you lose your belief in yourself, you lose your self-esteem. And along with that is a whole bunch of emotions and beliefs and thoughts that come along with it. So as we go through life, first of all, when we want to accomplish things, our job or career or life, we need to have some sort of integration between these parts of ourselves. Otherwise, there's going to be parts competing and it's going to create conflict. This is the main reason why people don't achieve what they want, is because there's a part that's saying, go forward. And there's a part that's saying, I can't, I need to stay
Right.
small and hide,
Right.
So this is kind of a little bit about what you were talking about how we hold the emotions. Yeah, it's a little bit of a different topic. A whole bunch of my book, I talk about how, so switching topics here a little bit, how emotions reside in our body. Do you want to talk about that, the physiological states of emotion, or not yet?
Yeah, just briefly, because our time's almost up, and I want to talk a little bit more about your book. So you got about 1 minute to share.
Okay. Well,
That's
all of our emotional states, all of our beliefs have a physiological state in our body. I mapped out a whole bunch of things like shame, anxiety pattern. So I could basically just look at someone and see what's going on inside of them, their beliefs, their physiology. I mean, I could instantly do a reading on a person just by the way they move. And as a healer and doing this work for a long time, I know just how to touch them as well to help them to come out of that, especially when we've been thinking and believing things for a long time. Okay. And then this will, of course, create the circumstances that are attracted their way. So I'll just leave it at that. Yeah.
That is awesome. And
yeah.
here's the truth. And then for many out there, this is, oh my gosh, that's kind of scary. This person can read me all this kind of stuff. What if something's wrong? Well, that's the whole point, is to find out what might be out of balance within us, so that you can have a person that's really coming truly from the heart, as I recognize you, truly coming from the heart with so much passion to
Mm.
help people overcome these blocks so they can blossom and be everything that you want. I mean, that's such a beautiful thing that you're doing, Shara. And I sensed it right away. Again, when I opened your book and saw this wonderful list of things that you're doing, that you're writing about in your book. So just briefly tell us once again about your book, the name of the book, and some of the chapters in it.
Right. Okay. So the book is Unlocking Your Healing Powers Within. It's divided into 5 sections. One of the sections is on ancestral healing, which there will be another podcast about. One of the main part of the book, I'd say about half the book, is where I listed out all the diagnoses, the possible root causes, like the pictures I see and the voices that are going on, and then solutions. So, Louise Hayes did this, yet I refrained from looking at her book when I was finding my own information. I did it very differently. So if you're a fan of Louise Hayes, you'll love this book. And then the last section is about purpose and passion and stepping all the way in. Now, along with the solutions, I referred people to my workbook. So I have a workbook that goes hand in hand if you really want to do the deep dive work. Some of it's journaling exercises, and some of them are meditations, everything from how to change limiting beliefs, how to integrate yourself, how to align your body and your being, which is 2 parts that are often out of alignment, and how to step fully into your life purpose.
I love it. I mean,
and it's on sale at Amazon and Barnes and Nobles.
Absolutely. Everybody needs to get that. I mean, our balancing systems. I mean, who'd want to know about that? Well, everyone, right?
Yeah. And also it talks at the beginning, it talks about when our balancing systems are off, how to get them back together, how to get them aligned, how to get the information from your heart, how to access your higher self. This is where we need to get the answers from within, really.
Well, this book is going to be a breakthrough. I can't wait to see it, number 1 on Amazon right away. I'll be helping you with that. And so what a brilliant, introduction to our own future, if you will, by healing from within. Shara, I want to thank you, but before we go, how do people find you?
My website is sharaogin.com, SharaOgin.com. And all my information about who I am and what I offer is all there.
Well, check out the link for the book. Once again, the book at this time is called Unlocking the Body's Wisdom, Accessing Your Healing Power from Within. It might be a slight title change, I don't know, in the making, but who knows? I mean, it's all wonderful. Shara, thank you so much. And I'm Dr. Bart Rademacher, and this is Prescription for Your Transformation, Real People, Real Conversations, and Real Success. I'm absolutely delighted to be talking to Shara today. I mean, this is something that I'm so passionate about, and currently advising and consulting other doctors and patients about regenerative medicine. And this is front and center in that process. It's not just using cell therapy, or other things, or supplements, or lifestyle changes. I mean, well, actually, this is all about lifestyle changes. And this is such an important part because we can heal ourselves so well naturally. And we just need to receive the wisdom from people like Shara. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Dr. Rademacher's Prescription for Your Transformation. Continue the path towards discovering your own authentic genius by tuning in next time for more real conversations with real people.